Do we want to, like, at some point do something to be the opening stinger of the video? Do we want this to be the opening stinger of the video?
Welcome back, everybody. We have a package that showed up on our doorstep.
One that we're very excited about, or I'm very excited about.
Well, I mean, I am too. Are we going to fight about that?
Yeah, who's more excited about it?
It's Divinus, everybody. I'm going to try to get this off. We've positioned this. Now, as I pull this off, I'm going to tell you, this is a prototype.
Oh, yeah,
I don't want to pull this off and have you expect that there's going to be some sort of like massive stack of trays and like beautiful.
Where's all the game trays?
The components are beautiful, but it is a prototype. So I'm going to set this box over here, and we're just going to give you a look today at what we've got here.
Yeah. A little cell sheet on top.
I've been excited about this too. Yes, there's a cell sheet. Here's a little behind the curtains of content creation.
Yeah, we get a lot of these with prototypes, actually.
It's kind of cool. I mean, honestly, you're probably not very excited about this, but we are, because it tells us a lot of what we need to know about the game. It even says thank you to us, which is very nice.
You're welcome,
we
guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you. You're welcome, Lucky Duck.
I've been excited. So I remember when Lucky Duck teased the very first images of this game, and I instantly messaged them and I said, tell me everything, because the artwork was gorgeous.
And they didn't.
They didn't, but they told me a little bit.
Yeah, well, and this tells, I've read the rules. Truth be told, this is not our first unboxing of this game.
It's my first unboxing.
It is first for you, but I opened it yesterday. I actually read the rules because I couldn't wait. And the rules are not terribly significant. This is an app hybrid game.
Yeah.
So I think the app is going to walk you through a lot, but this did walk me through what the initial setup is going to be. Here, I'll show you what the rule book looks like here. It's very visual, but what I was amazed to find out, this is not, I wouldn't say it's a light game, but this comes from Philip Malunsky. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I hope so.
He did Destinies for Lucky Duck. So it's got some of that DNA, but it's not narrative. But it is not that sort of game at all. This is a sort of Euro tile drafting, building sort of a tile world, all like Isle of Skye, or like not Carcassonne, but you get the idea. You're building tiles in front of you and building your own little region of the world, if you will.
But it definitely has some influence, or at least some DNA shared with My City, which we played that we loved. And that's kind of the same. You're laying out those Tetris pieces in specific patterns, but in this you've actually got tiles that you're laying out. But you're going to be taking on the role of like gods from all different pantheons, and you're trying to build out your little tableau based on different goals and things like that.
Yes, and to be specific, we are demigods.
Demigods.
Can you tell me the difference? You should probably know this.
Demigod, isn't that like half god? Like,
I think so.
Maybe one of your parents.
But I believe I get the sense that in the goal of the game here, it says we're demigods.
Oh, I see.
And it's kind of a not battle, but there is a bit of a competition between the Greek pantheon and the Nordic gods.
Yeah. And
so you're kind of doing things in your own little world here that may gain the favor of one side or the other as you play, and that's going to have ongoing and lasting impacts on consecutive plays, because this is a legacy game.
Right, it's a legacy game, and a lot of the legacy element is controlled by the app. As you'll see as we unbox, there's some legacy stuff that is more traditional as well, but the decisions that you make in the game, especially when it comes to Greek versus Norse, those are going to be reflected in future scenarios through the app based on the choices that you make. So the narrative can actually change, and some of the things that you encounter later on in the game will be different based on those choices.
Yeah, and when I read this rule book, I thought, I'm getting some My City vibes, so I contacted them. They said, yeah, it's definitely in that weight plus. Certainly more narrative, I think, than My City. My City didn't really have a narrative.
First
of all, if you haven't played My City, go out and play it. It's pretty good.
Yes, it was great.
In fact, great. But the narrative, you read some things and it kind of like told you how things were evolving over time. But this, I believe, is going to have a far greater impact on the decisions you make. And just to prove that it is a legacy, here's our first sample.
Of all the
there is
spaces.
Some spaces here for some rules to be added. And my guess is that might happen right off the bat.
Yeah, it might.
Because the app is probably going to tell you to add sticker R1 and R2.
We'll see what happens. Well, let's keep pulling stuff out, because I'm interested in these boxes, actually.
Pull one of those boxes
These
out.
are the demigod characters that you can play. Now, some of this stuff we've seen in legacy games before, as in you have spaces actually to put stickers on the box, and it looks like you're tracking some wins and losses here.
The sides of the boxes here is where you're going to be tracking
I hear some dice moving in there.
Yeah, there is some stuff in here.
Yeah.
And we can show you that. I have looked in here. There's a few boxes we can't.
See.
But this is where you're going to be tracking how much favor, I don't know that it's called favor, but you've gained with one side versus the other. This is the Nordic side. So as you progress, the balance between who you've helped more, I guess, or favored more is going to probably have some impact.
Well, I want to see
Crack open that box. The dice, I'm going to spoil alert.
Oh, whoa.
They're chunky.
Okay, they are.
They're chunky dice.
Let me give these a roll. Oh, that's satisfying.
Yeah, those are like, when's the last time you played Seasons?
Right, well, it's been a few years.
Those dice
do have that same kind of feel.
They rival the Season dice.
And I'm guessing that as the campaign goes on, you're going to have more bits and components that you're going to store inside of your character's box here.
Yeah, so let me take, here, you open this bag while I show them. There's two types of tiles, but they're all fairly similar. They have different land geography on one side with a lot of different icons. But on the backs, I believe these are ones that represent one side and those the other, because as you fill the main board, it's important that you do so from two different stacks. And there's one stack that has these backs and one stack that has those backs.
I'm definitely, you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned it here, if you just mentioned it to me, but Isle of Skye. And that idea of like matching up these different terrain types with these tiles. Yeah, you like creating areas. That's pretty cool.
And I can confirm. So we'll get this out a little bit more. So here are there's 4 characters or demigods you're going to be playing. At least in our
prototype, right? Or there's 4 for the whole game?
Well, sure. I don't know.
I'm guessing that their dice are all different colors. Yep. They're all those same.
And I do. We're going to have, just so you know, we're going to have a preview of this. So we don't want to go too deep into what I learned from the rulebook here, but I will tell you the core mechanic is you're drafting these tiles. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and move the box at this point.
There's still more stuff in there.
Oh, I know, but that's super secret stuff.
Oh, well, what are these, by the way?
Those are the scenarios. Ooh. So the first scenario is inside box 1.
So I can't show anybody what's in here.
I don't think we should open it right
even.
Yeah, those are sealed.
And if I unsealed it?
If you unsealed it, I'd just seal it back up because I looked yesterday, everybody.
Oh, did you really? You looked inside these?
I looked inside the first one.
Oh, you did a really good job resealing it. It doesn't even look open.
I'm sneaky like that. But hopefully you can, there you go. We'll see. This is the main board. This is not where you're playing, but this is where you're going to be sort of putting all these tiles out.
To draft?
Like so. Now, here's the cool thing, and I'm not going to fill the whole board, but to just give you an example of what happens, at the beginning of a round, and depending on player count, you're going to have different numbers of dice. You're going to roll your dice up, and you have all those dice. In a 2-player game, you get all these dice. And then as you're drafting tiles on your turn, if you want the 6th tile, you're going to spend 6 worth. I think that's a 2. You take the tile and you put your dice there, and now you don't have those dice. So you're either using your dice to take a tile or resting, and when you rest, you get all your dice back, and you have to re-roll all of them and then continue on.
I'll tell you, whatever you just said, all I'm thinking about is what's in this little envelope. I'm looking.
Ryan does not know how to pay attention. Everybody.
I can't not.
I wouldn't pull those out. I can confirm there are stickers inside of here.
Oh my goodness!
Galore.
Yes, there are. There's like several. And new rules.
Here, we're going to tease you really bad. Pull one out and hold it up like this. I will blur the heck out of it.
Oh, you're going to make it all blurry? Look at these. Blur that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so there's stickers. Well, as you notice, the character boxes look like they're going to have stickers on them, potentially. I do know, I can confirm that the tiles...
Right, well, I see some stickers that go on tiles. I see some stickers that go on boxes.
I hadn't thought about this until last night when I was thinking about it a little more. You're going to put stickers on these tiles so that when you play consecutive games... those tiles will now be different
for every game
for future games.
And when you're completely done with the Legacy campaign, you enter into I forget what they call it, like a forever infinite mode or something.
You have basically a Euro game that
which
you
is
can play.
Which is like My City. When you're done with My City, you can still just play My City. You can do the same thing here. You'll reach the end and you'll just play the game, and it still becomes that tile drafting game. I don't know how the narrative comes into play, but that's the great thing about an app is that there's always the ability to add more content.
Yeah, and I can tell you, so see here, there's these little icons on some of the tiles. Now, when you take a tile, you're going to put it in front of you and sort of start building a 4x4 grid. It has to be 4x4. It can't be bigger. When you place one, every subsequent tile has to be placed next to it. And like Ryan mentioned, it has to match up in terms of the land, very Isle of Skye.
Yeah.
And some of the scoring you're going to have, which is like Isle of Skye and also My City, is going to be changing every scenario, and it's going to be based on, how many different water spaces do you have? Like this would be one, but then there might be another goal that's like who has the biggest water space. So you might want to make a big one. So I'm really anxious to see the one thing we haven't seen is the app. We're getting the app, I think, next week.
So we'll have the app before we do the preview.
For sure.
And I'm guessing I'm sure that we have not seen all of the content. Because I know with a lot of legacy games, you'll have punch boards, you'll have maybe some extra tiles that are introduced over the course of the game. I don't know how many exact. Oh, I think just 2. We have 2 scenarios we can play.
We have 2 scenarios. Out of potentially I don't 12, want to misspeak. I think it's 12.
I believe it's 12. So we'll have a little. Yes. We'll have a little bit of context for talking about the game, but obviously not the entire campaign. We won't be spoiling anything.
Yeah, I am particularly excited to see what the app is doing because I do know that depending on what types of tiles you place, there are certain icons that relate to the 2 sides,
and you can,
which you can see here. But then there's other icons that come out that you do scan.
Oh, yes.
And then a narrative unfolds that kind of, I'm going to just assume, describes the land that you just
probably
added.
Gives you a decision to make too, because I said a lot of these decisions will
decisions,
impact the story.
Maybe quests. I mean, there may be who knows?
The sky's the limit. Well, we've seen the Destinies app. If you haven't seen our video, we did a whole video of us playing it, so you can kind of see how the narrative of Destiny's changed just within one scenario based on decisions we made in that scenario. And to think about that happening over 12 scenarios, I'm just excited to see how different our play is going to be based on some other players.
Yeah, I'm really excited to play it. If it's anything like My City, I'm super stoked because I devoured that game with my wife, and I think I will. I mean, unless I play this with you, but I definitely want to try to play it with.
Play it together.
I'm sure we'll play it a couple times.
This idea of Isle of Skye meets My City meets Destinies is very appealing to me. So,
ooh, I wonder if you're the first person to describe it that way.
Probably not.
Probably.
And I probably won't be the last.
But anyway, we just wanted to give you a quick look at it, and that is exactly what we've done. You're probably sitting there saying, well, you just showed me a bunch of boxes. You didn't show me anything. Well, it's a legacy game. So
hopefully, if you're not excited from just this, then maybe this game's not for you. Because I am ready to play.
It is different than what I expected, but I'm actually more excited about it because it's not this massive sort of Destiny's thing, which I love, but I really like this type of experience. And
I love tile
this mechanic of using these dice was completely new to me when I read the rules, and I'm very excited about that as well.
Well,
so
let us know in the comments for sure, because I just from seeing this, but I'm actually able to touch it and everything. I'm super excited to play it. Tell us in the comments from watching this video. Are you pumped? Are you excited? Are you going to watch our preview? Hopefully you'll watch the preview and get more information.
Yes. And until then, make sure everyone has fun at the table.
Yeah,
Did you have fun at this table?
I did have fun at this table.
Excellent. My job here is complete. We'll see you next time, everybody. Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.